Okay, here's where we left off. We set up our two sites. We have 4 DCs. All DCs are in the same domain. And we configured 2 DFS servers. We've installed the software. We've joined them to the domain, but we haven't configured any shares yet. So I'm going to create 1 share. Again, DFS management. We already have the servers added to our server manager, so I can manage all the machines from one box. I also created a DFS group, so I can go here and look at all the events for both servers in one location. So I'm going to go to Tools, DFS Management. Right click, create a new namespace, and I'm going to point to this server first. It's going to be my name server, and it's also going to be the share at the same time. I'm going to call it public. Domain based. Create. Now, if this name server goes down, I want to add a second one. Look, it's aware which site it's in. It's automatically site aware. So I'm going to add a new name server, CS01 DFS2. Guys, the reason why we stopped last class is because everything hadn't replicated yet. So I'm hoping everything replicated, because I boot up my machine, I just let it sit for a while. This might give you a glitch because, it's in 2 different sites. So if it hasn't replicated, you just have to wait. It was actually able to find the server and at least connect to it. So that's a good sign. So now I have 2 servers hosting my namespace. Now I'm going to create a folder on the namespace. I'm going to call it Profiles. Now when someone clicks on that link, I'm going to send them to one of 2 shares, DFS1 or DFS2. Profiles. Again, I'm going to try to be consistent with the naming scheme. Doesn't exist yet, so create it. And this is the local path. The other one was the network path. I'm going to customize the permissions. Everyone full control. I'll deal with NTFS permissions. Guys, the point of this exercise I'm doing now is actually group nesting. So we're going to get into more permissions here before the end of the day. A lot more permissions. I want to show you the type of groups we can create and why we want to create each group. So the point of this, setting up this DFS, is to demonstrate groups and how to give users access to data across multiple domains. So right now I only have 1 domain. After we're done with this, we'll create another domain. I'm going to click OK. That local folder doesn't exist, so I'm going to create it. Now I'm going to add a second target. CS01 DFS2. This is on the other side of the site. Again, sticking with the same naming convention. The example is wrong. Now I'm going to define the local path. And give everyone full control, essentially turning off share permissions, the old school permissions. This wizard does not allow me to modify NTFS permissions. You have to do that after the fact. Click OK. And it's going to create a replication group to replicate data between those 2 shares. So while this is waiting, guys, I'm going to create 2 more machines. I'm going to create 1 machine on the west side, 1 machine on the east side, DC 5 and 6, and they're going to be our child domain. Guys, I don't care if you create them graphically, however you create them, I'm just going to run this. I'm going to choose Server 2016. I'll let that create the disk. So guys, here's my replication group folder. I'm just going to walk through the wizard. They're both empty, so I don't care about which one is primary. And create the replication group. Okay, so now if someone clicks on that namespace, it'll take me to either DFS1 if I'm on the west side, DFS2 if I'm on the east side. And then when they click on one of the folders, it'll take me to DFS1, the share folder, if you're on the west side, DFS2 on the east side. So it's automatically site aware. So now we're going to look at permissions. So if I go into File and Storage Services, because I have both servers attached to this machine, I can look at all the shares on both servers. So here's the profile share on DFS2, here's the profile share on DFS1. If I can change the permissions on one, it'll replicate those over to the other. So I'm going to go to Properties, Expand Permissions. I'm not going to let local users have permissions. I'm just going to say only domain users. I'm going to remove those and add domain users. Give them modify rights, and then permissions are done. Now this is fine for any users in my domain. But what if I have other domains in my organization? How do I let users from other domains access this share? We're going to do it with group nesting. So I'm going to go to my DC on my, I forgot to start these. I'm going to go to the DC on my parent domain. Go to Tools, Active Directory Users, and Computers. I'm going to go to the user container and create a new group. I want to explain something first. If I go to Group Policy Management, and I have an OU. An OU is an organizational unit, and it allows me to apply policies to an OU. If I look right here, this is the container. This is a container. This is an OU. If you can look at the difference of the icon. I can't apply a policy to a container, only to an OU.
Why?
Because containers are, this is a lie, but for all intents and purposes, you can't create new containers. So the default behavior is containers you can't apply an OU. I can't apply a group policy. OUs you can. So right now I only have one OU. A lot of people, even people in industry, think they can. So if I have a computer object in this OU, like right here, if I have 4 computer objects in this OU, if I apply a group policy to that OU, every every computer object in that OU will get that group policy. So if I want to put a bunch of computers in one OU, apply policy, all the computers in that OU will get it. So if I had an OU and I put a bunch of user accounts in it and apply a policy to that OU, all those users would get that policy. Some people think that if you create an OU and put a group in the OU, then add users to the group, they'll get that group policy. It doesn't work that way. Group policies only apply to computers or users, not group accounts. So a lot of people create OUs and put groups in OUs thinking they're going to get a policy, and it won't work that way. So there's no reason to ever create a group in any other location other than the user container. If you want to create an OU or go through this manual process and create your own container, then you could put groups in there, but I try to avoid putting groups, because look, when I say new, I can create users, contacts, all of this. I can't create a new container. I can create, if I go up here, I can create a new OU, but I can't create a container easily. There's other tools that I can do it, but there's no real good reason to put a group in any other place than the user container. That way, someone that comes in after you knows where to find that group. If you put it in an OU, someone might think that all the users in that group will get that. It can't. Because keep in mind, guys, I can have one user in multiple groups. So if group policies could apply to groups, it wouldn't understand how to do it because one user might be in 3 different groups and he'd get 3 different sets of policies. There would be no way to align how a user gets his policy. So groups have no bearing on getting group policies. So I always create group accounts here. So we're going to create a group account. We have 2 different group types. Security groups used for NTFS permissions and distribution groups used for email. For the purpose of this class, we're only going to be dealing with security groups. Then we have 3 different group scopes. This is what people don't understand. When do I use what one? A universal group is a free-for-all. I can put users from any domain in my forest in a universal group. I can nest other groups into universal groups. And if I see a lot of universal groups, that lets me know that the individual doesn't know what he's doing. The problem with using universal groups are they're stored in the global catalog. If you use universal groups too much, what happens is every time you make a change, it's going to force the global catalog to start replicating data. Every time you query a universal group, you're going to query the group, global catalog. It just makes your network perform really bad. Back in the day, in the 2003 days, if you added one user to a universal group and there was 4,000 members, it would re-replicate all 4,000 members across. And remember, global catalogs aren't on every DC, so you're really going to be hammering those DCs that are global catalogs. So you need to try to avoid universal groups. But they kind of work in really weird situations where you can't get anything else to work. But the way that you really want to set groups up is nesting global groups and domain local groups. Guys, I'm going to pull up UCertify to see that, to show you that. I'm trying to figure out where that part is on the.
You can search. Go to the table of contents.
I guess they put it in a video. See, they talk about if you don't nest groups properly, you get unintentional permissions. You overcomplicate. I've seen so many. Guys, I don't like this acronym, but I'm going to stick with that. You get people, permissions over time just are destroyed. I don't know what people do with permissions. That they create new groups. You have groups with thousands of people in it. The users aren't even part of the organization anymore. But I'm going to stick with this. Identities here are user accounts. Think of that as user accounts. So what I want to do is create user accounts and put them in global groups. So if I have two domains, one domain here, I have a domain here, and I have a domain here. And I have a file server here that I want everyone to access. So I have individual user accounts here that I'm going to put in a global group. And I'll have user accounts here that I'll put into a global group. Global groups can only have user accounts from their own domain. And I'll have user accounts up here that I'll also put in a global group. So I'll have 3 global groups, 1 in each domain. So I'm going to, if I try to create a global group and add a user from another domain, it won't work. And so then I want to do something like create a domain local group and grant modify rights to that resource or that share. And then I'm going to make this global group a member of that domain local group. This global group, a member of that domain local group. This global group will be a member of that domain local group. So if I'm the domain admin for here, and I want to grant access to this shared folder, I don't need to call this domain admin. I can just add him to my global group. Because the global group is nested in this domain local group, at that point, he'll have access to the share, whatever that domain admin decided. So when you look in a domain local group, you really shouldn't see user accounts. All you should see are global groups from other domains or the local domains. So I can nest a domain local group and a domain local group from the same domain, or global groups from the same domain or other domains. So that's how you properly nest. And what they're doing is you put the users in global groups, you put the global groups in domain local groups, and then you grant access to that domain local group. Were you raising your hand, Dorothy?
No, I was taking a picture.
Okay. So that's the proper way to do it. Now, by doing it this way, I avoid universal groups altogether, and at that point I don't have a negative impact on my global catalog. A lot of people, I see them, especially when I would be working in industry, they would try to, I might move this over, they would try to take a domain local group and add another domain local group from another domain. You know, I could find now and it's just not, I can search. Well, I don't have another domain yet. I can search for other domains in here, but I don't have any yet. Let me create those other domains. So what we're going to do is create user accounts in each domain, then grant them access to our DFS server. So I'm going to go over to DC6 and create a new domain. DC5 first. I need to look at my IPs. So the last IP I used on the west site was 0.4. So for DC5, I'm going to use 0.5. I'm going to assign it to DC6 so that starts. Guys, just to give you an idea what I did is I created two DCs. One on the west site, one on the east site. This is attached to the east network. This is attached to the west network. (172.16.05) or /18. Our router is our gateway. 172.16.0. This is going to be the first DC in my new child domain. So I'm going to point this to DC 1 and 2. CS01 VM5 or DC5. Okay. I'm going to add Active Directory uses Active Directory directory services. Okay, while that's installing, I'm going to do the same thing to DC6. for the west side, east side rather, I'm going to use 172.16.64.5. This is going to be my second DC in the new child domain. So I'm going to point this to the first DC in the child domain for name resolution. Going back to DC5, still waiting. I'm going to go check. Oh, no, DC5 is ready. So now I'm going to promote this to a domain controller. So what I'm going to do is a new domain in an existing forest. It's going to be a child domain, not a new tree. I'm going to call this contoso.com child. Because I'm creating a new domain, I have to supply the enterprise admin. So in this case, it is Contoso administrator. If my domain naming master server was down, this would fail. I'm going to go to DC1 to show you something. If I pull up Active Directory uses Active Directory sites and services, and look at my west site, I already have a global catalog server, so I don't need a new one. Sometimes if you have a very big site with a lot of traffic, you might need 2 global catalog servers, but I wouldn't have too many. Too many would just cause replication traffic that you don't really need. So in this case, I don't need a global catalog. I'm still going to let it install the DNS. I want this machine to handle its own namespace, handling child.contoso.com. I don't want the parent DC doing that. The wizard should create the delegation for me. It doesn't work right. It's not consistent. So I'm just going to manually create that so I don't have issues. So I'm going to go to DC1. Go into DNS. And under Contoso, I'm going to create a new delegation. I'm going to delegate the child namespace to these two servers. CS01 dc5.child.contoso.com. That will have an IP address of 172.16.0.5. It's not going to validate, guys. It's not set up yet. Then add another one, CS01 dc6.child.contoso.com 64.5. Again, it's not set up, so it's not going to validate. So these two servers are going to handle the namespace child.contoso.com. Because remember, this DC, if it doesn't know the answer, it will send it to 10.13.2.5. By creating this delegation, we're saying, normally, yes, you do send out if you don't know the name, unless the name falls under child.contoso.com. At that point, send it to these two servers. They can answer any names about that. These two machines will be the start of authority for child.contoso.com. So I'm going to leave this checked. I'm supplying an admin account information, but I manually created that just because I didn't want to have problems. This is going to take a few minutes, so I'm going to go back to this. Guys, keep in mind that these user accounts can be in a bunch of different domains. These global groups, if I have users in 4 domains, I need 4 global groups. And that domain local group is really going to be only in the domain where the resource is at. So if I have a file server on a parent domain, I can't create that global group on a child domain. I need to create it in the same domain where the resource is. And then I'm going to grant access to that domain local group. Try to keep your group structure very, very simple. Because if you don't, it's just going to cause all kind of problems for you down the road. It's a weird acronym. Guys, this is the only book I know that uses that weird acronym. Here's a link on the Microsoft website. Okay, guys, while that's promoting, I want to ask you some questions. This chapter also talks about OU structure. OUs allow me to delegate control to an individual and also allows me to apply group policies to them. So let's say I have two OU structures. Let's say I have an OU for North Campus And under that, I have a math department. Under that, I have an OU called faculty and an OU called staff. Then I have an English department. And under that, a faculty and staff. And then equal to this, I have a central campus, OU. Then under that, I have a math. Then a faculty and staff. Then I have a English department. Again, with the faculty and staff. So if I apply a policy here, like a shared folder, say here's a shared folder, everyone have a map drive, it would apply to both faculty and staff. If I apply a policy here, then at that point, it would only apply to faculty. But let's just say if I go to my domain, which is broward.edu, if I apply a policy to here, it would affect everyone. So what if I did this? Under my domain, broward.edu, I had a math department. Then under that, I had North Campus. Faculty and staff. Then I had an English department. No, sorry. Then I had a central campus. Faculty and staff. Then I had an English department. Then I would have the same structure underneath this English department as well. Which is correct?
It depends
Depends on what?
on, it depends on the way that you have, like, how you want to manage either the math department or the English department, whether you want to manage the campuses themselves. It depends on what you want to manage.
It all depends on your org chart, your organizational chart. Do we have one math dean that covers North and Central? That would be this case. There's one administrative person in charge of this department. And does he cover all the math departments regardless of the campus? Or do we have one math dean that answers to the North Campus president, or the math dean here answers to the Central Campus president, meaning this math department is really run independent of this math department. So in our case, in actual BC, we have one math department here, one math department dean, another math department dean. These two math department deans don't have to collaborate at all. They can be run as independent departments. If they run the same classes, that's good. If they don't. So it all depends on the way your organizational structure is laid out. So there's no right or wrong. It's if I try to force something here, and I wanted to apply a policy that affected all departments on Central Campus, I would literally have to apply it here, and again, apply it down to the Central Campus here, and it would just be too much work.
You could do the same policy and do the links where you just do the same thing.
But there are always links. You create one policy, then you link it. But do I want to link it to each individual Central Campus under that subject matter? But here, if I want to apply one group policy to Central Campus, I can do that. So if I have the president says, I want this on all the computers, meaning we're going to have a student event over in building 19, we want all students to know about it. So I want all the desktop to have the same image about that event on Central Campus. That dean can apply it, have that policy applied to this OU, and then all departments under that dean, under that president, would get that OU, will get that policy. So in our particular case, this is right. But some schools might be laid out like this. There might be one dean for math regardless of the campus that they're on. It's important to try to lay out your OU structure based on how the organization works. Don't try to force a structure on them that's not the way they think of their organization. Yeah.
Based on what you just say regarding the event, but I usually see all the campuses, all the computers, they have the same information on the desktop as soon as you turn them on. Is that even, I mean...
Well, not really, because if you look at ours are different than most others. So it's really laid out essentially like this.
By site.
By site. But I could apply group policies to site. I don't want to go there yet. But in this, I'm not thinking of site right now. I'm thinking of president. There's a president of the college. There's a president of North Campus. There's a president of Central Campus. There's a dean here, and it's a different dean down here. Okay, so I'm really looking at organizational structure. The nice thing about doing it this way is also creating text to handle it. Right now, what is this domain? What is the domain? It's a container. What's it going to hold? A bunch of objects. User objects, computer objects, things like that. What is an OU? It's a container. Back in the Windows NT 4.0 days, if you wanted to grant someone administrative rights to control a part of your organization, you had to create a new domain. Now with the advent of OUs, I can take an OU, like user, and grant user 1 full rights to that OU. So at that point, user 1 can create user accounts, can create group accounts, can create user accounts under this OU structure. He could apply policies, anything that he wanted to do. So even though user 1 is nothing but a normal user account, for Central Campus, he's like the domain admin. So I can delegate control to that portion of my organization, to that one user account, without giving him admin rights. Meaning, if that user 1 went over to a DHCP server and try to configure it, or mess with it, or alter it, or try to do something on a DC, he wouldn't be allowed to do it. What you want to do is give your user accounts the least privileges that they need to do their job. I don't want to make a domain admin out of this user account just because I wanted to control Central Campus. So when you do an OU structure, you're able to actually go through and grant that user full control over that OU, but not be able to do anything else in the organization. Okay, guys, this is set up. I'm going to check the DNS, see how it looks. So my DNS looks good. So I'm going to go over and promote DC6. This is going to be an additional domain controller in an existing domain. The domain will be child.contoso.com. Whose rights do I need to supply here? Child administrator. Because I'm not creating a new domain, I don't need to use the enterprise admin. I just need to use the domain admin for that domain. Let's go look at DC1 again. Under Sites and Services, I can see under the East site, I already have a global catalog server, so I don't need to create another one. Look, guys, now what does it do? When sites are properly configured, it automatically determines which site it should belong in based on its subnet address. I can update the DNS delegation, but I manually did it. I added both servers when I manually created it. Guys, if I wanted to do this, let's say I didn't do it manually, whose authentication do I need to supply here? Contoso, because remember, the delegation isn't in the child domain, it's in the parent domain. So I need to supply not the enterprise admin, the parent domain's admin, which happens to be the same user account in this case as the enterprise admin. Again, if I wanted to replicate from a backup, I could start that process there. Okay. So guys, I'm going to start creating user accounts. I'm just going to put them under the user container on DC1. So I'm going to create a new user account, user1, U1. I'm not going to force them to change their password. So I created 3 user accounts on the parent domain. I'm going to go to DC5 and create 3 user accounts on the child domain. My goal is to have all the user accounts, regardless of the domain, be able to access that shared folder. I'm going into Active Directory users and computers, and again,
Does the username have to be unique across the entire course?
I don't know. I want to say yes. I want to say yes. I did know that at one point in time, but
Probably not, because you would still put their domain
well, because remember that object is also stored the common name would be the same, and that object is going to be stored in the global catalog. So that might cause a problem.
Would it have a GUID or no?
It would have a GUID.
Solution.
Okay, well, we'll try. So, new user. Guys, I'm just going to test this. This is U1. It allowed me.
Well, I mean, you would figure that because here where it has like that, like which domain that user is specifically in, I'm pretty sure in the same domain you have to have.
Yeah, but remember, regardless of the, like I would have a brow.edu email address, regardless of whatever child domain they're part of. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I see where you're
It
right.
might be somewhere.
But I can just only imagine you have a company that has 30,000 people. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I'm sure it's, but what you come up with is a policy, a good naming convention policy. If it exists somewhere in your organization, you add a 1 or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so guys, I created user accounts in both domains. So what we're going to do is let this DC finish, let it settle down, so everything's replicated to both sites. Take your first break, and we'll come back and actually perform the group nesting. Then we're going to do the delegation. Okay? It's not that difficult to do. Not the we're going to do the group nesting, then the delegation. Guys, and I don't know if you remember from last time, I told you there was a lab I didn't do in the last class, which is the relay agent. So I want to do the DHCP relay agent as well today. And next time we meet, I want to go through certificate servers, setting up web servers and securing them with certificates.
That's one.
Okay?
What day is the last day of this class? 3 weeks.
Yeah. But no, it's not as, look, today, next week, done.
Oh my gosh.
Time flies when you're having fun, guys.
What happened to the music classes that were
12. How many are in there?
You've not been coming?
15?
You might have missed this one. Basically, a professor blocked out of the class.
So just like.
And they needed someone to pick
That's why I
up.
didn't make it here
so we
last
couldn't
class.
find
I wasn't
anyone.
sure with my car. Like,
And if we dropped those students, it was Network Plus. We said, okay, you take next semester.
And then the
That means all the classes that they currently have scheduled for the next semester, they weren't meeting the pre-req. So it was going to affect all those students greatly. So I split both classes into blended.
the post-assessment
Are we still
16.
gonna do the final video?
Can you do everything else?
I don't know what we're going to do. I don't know if we're going to do a final if I tell people, oh, we're not going to do a test, I'm not going to get any flack.
Well,
We'll do it.
Is it the math? I get one.
yeah.
So you guys still coming on
I mean, I guess our next class,
He has
our
a,
last class is.
I have to watch it.
Oh my God.
There's a few people that say,
He's at his second class.
And then teacher practice. I come Tuesdays, I come Wednesday. He has a class.
They haven't even gone to
Right next
the
door.
book yet.
He's
Maybe not over there.
What?
He has a class.
No, that's what he said.
I came here last night, and I just came in.
Just the quizzes?
Watched the
Yeah.
video, got my practice.
I mean, it isn't fair, right? We did register for today.
Yeah.
So I watched the video and then just practiced on here Tuesday, Wednesday, and then. So I'm gonna get time in the practice.
All that did one correct.
I think I did both.
Yeah.
You didn't have any stamps or anything, that was not here last class.
In the last class?
Kind of sucked.
We did, yeah, we did have an exam, it was a final. But basically, he gave a review video, and then you practice that.
To do the certificate? You wanna do the certificate?
But I don't know, like you said, you
For what?
don't know what he's gonna do.
For Microsoft?
Mhm.
Hmm?
No,
No.
told them that she
Yeah,
has
no,
a
no,
Microsoft
no.
device. AWS, Amazon, there's a certificate that was like that. AWS.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's good, you know, they're just, I'm not saying it's bad things you have, the more certificates you have in that, but it's not something we're gonna sit there and spend the time on.
Thinking about it.
If you have time, do it. It's not gonna hurt people fucking looking for certificates more than they think they're looking for diplomas, man. First, they ask them on the interview, they have any certificates.
So we could also certificates and then mix it with your policies and that other stuff.
All the jobs that I had, the first thing they ask, do they have any certificates? What certificates do you have? If you have time to do it, do it.
Did you like those little videos? Did you watch any of those little videos? I'll tell you that they're kind I tried to watch the same video like 3 times already. It just doesn't work.
Huh? You? You all?
No, not here.
put your drive in your computer. I thought about what we can do for the final. I'm wait till everyone's back.
Who asked that question?
It's
Great smoke break, huh? Enlightening.
Guys, after this, the only thing I'm really going to cover is certificate servers on the 25th. So you have now till the 25th to reproduce this network. So you can come in here on Tuesday, work on it, knock it out. Tuesday, even while I'm doing the certificate servers, you could be working on it. So that'll give you this Tuesday, and you're going to show it to me here on the 1st.
Say that again now. I'm sorry.
All you have to do is reproduce this network, starting now and ending on the 1st.
So this is our final?
Yeah,
Okay.
okay?
And this is, sorry, go ahead.
At the lab, I started with the lab, and for some reason, when I came back and everything was done.
Keep in mind, the open lab, try to go into the open lab, boot into Windows 10, and create your own server
I
with your
did.
first name.
I did. My first name. Oh.
Right, if you use someone, if you put your first name, if you put a class there like Network Plus or this, someone else might come in there and say, oh, this is for all Network Pluses.
Okay.
So that way, but it is the open lab, there's no guarantee anything is going to be saved in the open lab.
Is there a way to do this at home and then show it to you somehow?
That's what I'm gonna do.
Guys, you could,
You can export the virtual machine.
but listen,
I got a
remote.
other question.
Guys, has anyone ever used this?
I mean, RDP, like Windows RDP?
Yes, but the only problem with RDP is it uses port 3361, and people slam that port. If you open it up, they're going to keep trying for your password. So by using this, you're not opening any ports of your network. You're initiating it from, because remember, NAT, if you have a NAT router, what are they doing with the markers around here? If I have a NAT router, guys, I haven't taken one art course. You're gonna find that hard to believe. If I have a NAT router and this is the internet, anyone can initiate new traffic out. And the NAT router is going to be smart enough to allow the response, established traffic, back in to that computer. But if someone tried to initiate new traffic going into your network, it's going to be blocked. Only established traffic can go back in. Unless you open up a port, which is dangerous. You can install some utility on your machines and sign in as your user account, then go to this website, sign in as your Google account.
What are you doing?
I'm accessing my home computer.
Okay. So you're remoting into it.
Yeah. You know, so you can show me, your work from home.
Oh.
Yeah, so yeah, if you do it at home, I don't care where you do it.
As long as we can show you reproduce it.
Right.
Is there gonna be somewhere where we have the requirements listed? 'Cause
Yeah.
I've been here for like 1 class.
Okay, you want to know what's on the test? No, yeah, I will somewhere.
Just the diagram, right? Like you did
Yeah, that's
last
it, that's
time?
the
Yeah, I'll do that. I'll do that today, and we'll take a picture of
Set
it.
up and-
Okay, so guys, my DC6 is up and running.
And then the next
Guys, and I'm just going to glance to see that those services are up and running and configured. I'm not going to go into detail and look at static routes and stuff like that. So DC6, I want to see if my user accounts are there. So they are there, so replication is going good. So I'm going to go, guys, just because replication sometimes can take long, I'm going to try to stick to doing everything on the west site, then let it eventually replicate to the east site. So I'm going to go into, yes, I'm still here. I'm going to go to DC5 first. I'm going to create a new group. Child, domain, users, global group. I don't need to put the GG there because I can easily see it in the description whether it's a global, but I'm just going to do it that way so we know. And then I'm going to make all of these users add them to that global group. Child, domain, users, GG.
Reason you didn't have one.
Because there might be a name conflict. I don't want to even get in that. Okay, so there's that group. So I have a global group in my child domain with my users added to it. Now I'm going to go to my parent DC. And create a global group here. Parent, domain, users, GG. I'm going to add all three of these users to that group. Parent, domain, users, GG. And so all of my users are a member of that global group. Now I'm going to create a new group in the parent domain. It's going to be in the same domain as the resource. In this case, our DFS share. Resource access domain local. So now I'm going to choose a domain local. Right here it is. I'm going to grant permissions to this group. I'm going to go to properties and go under the member tab, say add. In this location, I'm looking at global in the parent domain. So parent domain users, global group. Click add again. Now I'm going to look in the child domain for child domain users. Your domain local groups should really only have global groups from all your domains or domain local groups from its own domain. If I only had one domain, I would stick to global groups all the way across. Don't ever touch a domain local. The only time you need domain local groups is when you have a multi-domain environment. What really should be in here are global groups. I shouldn't open up a domain local group and see a bunch of user accounts. Keep your global group nice and clean. So when I right click a shared folder, I should see that that global group has permissions and the members of that global group is nice and clean. Who's going to maintain this group membership? The child domain admin. Who's going to maintain the group membership for this? The parent domain admin. At no time should you have to right click a shared folder to grant access, because that should be configured already. At this point, all I need to do is just change the global group by adding a user or taking a user away from that global group. I don't ever need to go to the shared folder and add a new group or anything like that, because this is the only group that needs permission to that shared folder. So let's go to our sorry guys, I opened it twice. Let's go to our DFS. Go to shares. Maybe not. Let's go to our DFS. I want to go back and, guys, when I right clicked here, I'm on DC1. When I right click here and went properties and did add and I went to the child domain, who was I querying? How do I search for other objects in other domains? What is the thing that allows me to search? That I'm hitting my global catalog. Because the global catalog knows about all objects in all domains. It knows about all objects in all attributes for its current domain, in this case the parent, and all objects in most attributes for the other domains. So my global catalog on DC1 knows about all objects in the domain. So when you're querying another domain for an object, that's where your global catalog comes into play. If you click on something and it can't find the object or can't query the remote domain, that your global catalog is either down or you can't reach it. That's why we, in this particular case, I'm querying the global catalog on the west side, not the east side, because I'm on the west side. So this is where your global catalog is coming into play. So I'm going to go back to the DFS. I'm going to right click this permission, this shared folder, go to properties. So now, instead of using domain users, I'm going to remove that and add resource access domain local and give them modifier rights. So every time that the child admin needs to grant access to that shared folder, he just adds them to that user to his global group. He doesn't need to contact the admin. He doesn't need to find out who controls that share. He just adds them to that global group. That global group is nested in the domain local group. That domain local group is granted modified access to the resource. Keeps group management really simple and efficient. Guys, eventually, that's going to get replicated down here. In fact, it already got replicated. Okay, so Now, guys, I cannot sign into a DC as a non-privileged user. So I'm just going to test this out with DFS2. I'm going to log out as admin. I'm going to sign in as because like I don't really need to specify in this case because I'm not the domain admin. So you don't need to specify the domain if you're just a regular domain user. So I'm going to sign in as user 1 and see if I can write something to that shared folder. I don't have a map drive, so I'm just going to go to the File Explorer and just type it in. Guys, listen, I have temporary work for anyone who wants it. It is installing monitors at Comcast. If you're interested, send me an email if I have your resume. If you're interested, send me an email and your resume if I don't have your resume. I'm going to call the guy tomorrow. Contoso, public. Did I have user 1 in there?
No.
I thought I did on the parent. User 1, yeah. Okay, so things aren't replicated yet. Yeah, I'm just waiting. So we're going to come back and visit this, but I'm going to try. I'm looking at the DFS and verify I did select enter. Yeah, I'm just going to give us a few minutes to replicate. Because I did everything right. Parent has the right groups. And domain resources has the right groups. Okay, yeah, I'm just going to give it some time. I'm going to try user 5 on the other domain. Actually, I'm going to do this on DFS1. I'm going to avoid user 1. Create a new folder. No issues. I have permission. Yeah, I'm not confident that having 2 user 1s doesn't cause me a problem. So I'm going to try to sign in as user 6. Guys, user 6 isn't part of Contoso. So I do have to specify the domain. Any user from any other domain can sign on to these computers. Normal, non-privileged users cannot sign into DCs. So I have to try this on some other machine that's joined to my domain. Contoso.com, public. So users in both domains can write to that shared folder. Okay, I'm going to sign out here. And I want to show you how to do a delegation. So I'm going to go to the parent domain. I'm going to create an OU called Central Campus. Guys, there's a new thing in effect that we've had it since 2012. They have this little checkbox here so you can't accidentally delete a user, delete an object. If you delete an OU with 4,000 accounts in it, you delete 4,000 accounts. Okay? The only way to restore them was not recreate them, because at that point, there are different accounts because they have different GUIDs. So I'm going to press cancel for right now. We have this new utility that I haven't used much, Active Directory Administrative Center. It's a really nice utility. I'm just kind of old school and I don't use it. You know how we created the user account and we had to manually add them to groups? With this utility, I can go here, highlight users, say new user, I can say user 7, U7, type in my password, choose this so they don't have to set the password first time they sign in. And I can also go down here and add them to any group that I want at the same time. Set roaming profiles up. If I have multiple password policies, I can set that all up. If I don't use multiple password policies and I don't want to keep seeing those fields, I can unselect them so they're not visible. So I can do that all from one screen. Click OK. Here's the nice part. See right here at the bottom? Hit expand, and it shows me the PowerShell commands that it used to create that user account. And if I wanted to, I could copy. I'm going to select all. Copy. And make my own custom scripts if I wanted to. So it's actually using PowerShell in the background to do this. So it's kind of nice. But the other thing that I wanted to show you, I just got to find it. Over right here. If you delete a user account, it's gone. You can't recreate it. You have to restore from the backup. So when you restore from a backup, let's say I have 2 DCs. If I have a user account called user 1, it's going to get replicated over here. If I delete it here and literally removed it, before, let's say replication traffic went this direction, it would recreate it. So you don't delete accounts. You tombstone them as being deleted. And then it's going to replicate that over here. So if you tombstone an account, the system knows that it's deleted. If someone tries to replicate it back to you, you can say, wait a second, I know that's been tombstoned, I'm not going to accept that replication. So when I restore from a backup, let's say I delete this account. And it's labeled as tombstone. I should have erased that. And I restore from the backup. I shouldn't have deleted, it was an accident. I restore from the backup. And so when this machine now has a new account, this is going to replicate over here saying, wait, that account's been tombstoned and re-deleted. So it's difficult to restore from a backup. So what you have to do is, you know when you press F8, when you boot into Windows, and if there's an Active Directory item there, Active Directory restore mode, well, you boot this machine and restore the backup while the network card is not connected. Disable the network card. You restore that account that you want from the backup. You go into Active Directory restore mode and you label that as authoritative. So once you've labeled that object as authoritative, it's going to force replication, and you bring that DC back online and plug in the network card, it'll replicate and force this to be untombstoned again. And that will stay authoritative for a couple replication cycles. It's difficult. It's a pain in the butt to do. Because you're going to forget to disconnect the network card after you restore it from the backup. It's going to delete it again, and then you're going to realize what you've done. So they have this new feature called Recycle Bin. When you enable that, there's a one-way enabling. Once it's enabled, you can't get rid of it. Anytime you delete an object, it doesn't get deleted, it just gets moved into a recycle bin. So if you accidentally delete it, you can go to your recycle bin, right-click that object, and restore it.
Can you do it again?
Yes.
I just had to do that this week, Professor.
The recycle bin part or the?
The recycle bin, and then coming back into the ADAC to restore something that shouldn't have been deleted.
Yeah. So right now, if I go into users and I delete 7. I'm going to go to deleted objects.
Yeah.
There's user 7.
Yeah. And-
Don't have to deal with backups.
Yeah.
Could I delete it from here? Yes. Or I can just restore. It makes things a lot easier.
Oh, yeah.
This is a lot of things you can do with this. I just don't play with it. Okay. Guys, when I right click, I'm going to create a new OU. I'm going to call this Central Campus. and that box was checked saying not to accidentally delete it. So I go in here and go to properties. I don't see all the tabs. Things are hidden from me. If I go to view and check advanced features, it unhides them. So now if I right click Central Campus, I have more objects. I have more fields. So if I go to here and uncheck this box, it will allow me to delete it. So there's no way to accidentally delete it. You have to go in, do advanced features, and hunt for this box, because I guarantee you, you're not going to remember which tab it's under. But the other thing is, I now have a security tab. So if I want to delegate control, I can just add a user account and give them full control. Guys, if I add a user and give them full control, it doesn't really give them full control, and I don't understand why. So I'm not going to do it this method. In the old way, this is the way we did it. But they have this new wizard. If you don't use it, and did anyone do the WDS lab with me? Remember the WDS lab when we right-clicked and we did it this way, and we found out it wasn't working when we created new computer objects using WDS? It didn't work right, and that was only in 2016. So we're just going to stick to the official method. So I'm going to undo this. So user 2 is only part of two groups, domain users and resource access. No administrative authority other than that. So I'm going to right click, delegate control. I'm going to grant user 2 full control over this object. Guys, there's no full control here, so I'm going to create a custom task, then do full control. So now, if I go to advanced features and go to that object and go to the security tab, I can now see U2 has full control. If I do it here, I don't get the same results. I don't know why. So now I'm going to sign in as U2 on another box, because U2 can't sign into a DC. I'm going to sign in as U2 Now think of this as U2's workstation. This isn't anything special. I'm going to sign in and launch an MMC console, Microsoft Management Console. I'm going to add some snap-ins. I want the tools that I need on here. I'm going to go to Server Manager. If I was on a Windows 10 box, I need to install RSAT tools. You can download it from Microsoft website. They're already here for me. So I'm going to go to Manage, Add Roles and Features. I don't know if I can do this as U2. I might have to sign in as the admin to add these. We'll check. Under Features, Remote Server Admin Tools, RSAT. Again, I might get denied in doing this. I'm going to add all the Active Directory tools. I'm not adding Active Directory, I'm just adding the tools to manage it, which is those MMC snap-ins. And I don't have the rights.
It's crazy that it lets you get through, all the way through that to deny it.
Yeah. Run as different user. I'm just going to not log out. I'm just going to run the server manager as a different user. Guys, you don't have to do this for the test. I just want to just demonstrate how I delegated control over that OU. That didn't work because I launched a new tool. Let me just log off.
If you're on like just Windows 10,
Yeah, then you're most likely a local admin, and you'll be fine. I'm going to install on DFS1. Mainly I'm installing these ADDS snap-ins. Which allows me to remotely manage my DCs without actually signing into a DC. While that's going on, I'm going to go to DC1 and create another OU for North Campus that user 2 doesn't have rights to. Okay, now I'm going to sign back in as U2. Now U2 can't even install anything on this machine. But if I had a snap-in for Active Directory users and computers, and save it to my desktop, I'm just going to call it console 1. So every time I want to use it, I just go here and it'll have those snap-ins in. If I go to North Campus, there's no new. I can't do anything. But if I go to Central Campus, that user can create user accounts all day once for Central Campus. Can't do anything for North Campus. They could reset passwords, apply policies to the OUs, any sub-OUs. I can even do this. Create a new OU under it called Math. Then under that one, Faculty. So that user can even create its own OU structure if you wanted to. He wouldn't be able to create group policies, but he could take group policies that are already created and apply them to his OU. Delegation, okay. So the last thing I want to cover today is DHCP and DHCP relay agent. Yes. Okay, I'll come back there. So I'm going to install something first. Guys, I'll draw the network later. I'm going to not create a new DHCP server. I'm just going to use DC2 and DC4 as DHCP servers. So I'm just going to install DHCP on DC2. That is on the west side. DC4 is on the east side. So they're going to be domain controllers and DHCP servers. Just so I don't have to create a bunch of new machines. Manage, add roles and features. DHCP server. Okay. I'm going to do the same thing to DC4. I'm going to have one DHCP server on the east side and one DHCP server on the west side. If one goes down, I want the other one to handle the load for both sites. So normally, the one on the east side would handle the east site, the one on the west side would handle the west site. Because I'm going to start drawing the diagram while this is getting installed. This is public, and this is public. DC1, DC2, DC5, DFS1, NAT1, NAT2, CA, DC3, DC4, DC6, DFS2. Because normally I would have you do this with the web NLB, but I'm just going to only have one web server. Now, this is 172.16.0.0/18. This is west. This is 172.16 128.0/30. This is WAN. And this is 172.16.64.0/18. This is east. This is .2, .3, .4, .5, will be .6. This is .1, this is .1, this is .2. D is for dynamic, D is for dynamic. .1, .2, .3, .4, .5, and eventually .6.
Why is there no DC5?
It's on the back.
Oh, okay, I didn't see that.
Okay. Okay, I'm gonna move this down. I'll put this up there, just let me, this is going to be DNS. This will be DNS, DHCP. This will be a global catalog. This will be DNS, global catalog. This will be infrastructure master, because we had moved that over. This will be DNS, DHCP. This is on the child domain. Parent, 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 child. This will be a DC, a DNS. Guys, for this one, I didn't move the global, this one is not a global catalog. So I didn't need to move the infrastructure master for the child domain. Because the global catalog was here, there's no infrastructure master, so I'm fine. This will be a DNS. I only have one share, self-evident what this is. It's a certificate of authority, this will be a web server. Again, it's a file share. This is going to be the DFS root and the DFS share. So we're going to turn this into a DHCP relay agent. DHCP relay agent. And the last thing that I'm going to do after that, I'm going to show you failover external route. Right now, if these computers want to get to the internet, they go here. If these computers want to get to the internet, they go to this router and NATs them out. My NAT is the public interface that's dynamic. I want to show you what happens if this goes down. I want traffic to be rerouted across the network to go out that way and vice versa. Okay, so we'll do redundant routes with that. So we're right now doing this, and the redundant route. That's where we're going to leave for today. Next time we meet, we'll do the CA. Guys, I know it doesn't seem like a lot when we were doing it, but that's what we've covered.
Put the east and the west back up there, that info.
Okay, now guys, keep in mind that we are going to be doing the delegations will be, the group policies, the group nesting will be here. Because remember, when you set up these DFS, I want user accounts in both domains to be able to access that DFS. So I'm going to write this up here. West. You guys are just waiting. As soon as I walk away, you're going to 172.16.00/18. WAN 172.16.128.0/30. Who talked about the final exam and what kind of car do you drive, so the rest of the student body knows?
done now?
You're done. Okay, guys, let's take another break. Guys, it's not that hard. It looks hard, it is not. The thing is, you've got to do it slowly. You try to rush things. When you get this first DC up and running, first thing you do, first you get your NATs, get pinging. You can't ping between your two NAT routers, don't go on. Once your first DC is up and running, configure your sites and services. Do one DC at a time. Okay, let's take a break.
Okay. We have like 17 chapters. What's this like? We have 2.
And you know that people are gonna still procrastinate.
Of course, well, I'm gonna do it this weekend. No one's going to
That's what it is.
Yeah, next year, just playing video games.
But that's what I'm saying.
You know what? Chocolate whiskey.
Ed, please don't ever say that. That sounds horrible.
It sounds horrible. I don't even like cream soda. But it was amazing.
I was worried when we were drinking that.
No, it was straight like
You just tell them to do a review next week of this, instead of doing what he wants to do.
I don't think he's gonna do that. Now, what he has to do next week, we need 4 of this.
Doing the certificate. And the web server.
What
The
is
web
this
server
about?
is easy.
And like we all,
Yeah, this is the final.
this whole entire thing is like copy and paste the last final that we just did and add 2 other different types of
Oh, is
servers.
it?
Pretty much.
Not two.
I asked.
I mean, it's moving some of this stuff around with
Yeah,
IPs
but
or
it's
whatever,
mostly-
but it's, you added an extra NAT router and a network in between them, and we did 10 servers last class.
And the other thing,
Did you test for sure?
And we don't have to
was
do
harder
everything.
than this one.
nah,
Huh?
I mean,
The other one was
yeah,
harder
to
than this one.
did
I mean,
Oh,
the
yeah,
other
yeah,
one had
yeah.
IPAM,
Yeah,
so.
I know the bitch.
Nah.
Yeah, about
The
that.
only thing that changes is the DFS, because before we didn't do the users and the share, but other than that.
Well, yeah,
Well,
I
I
mean, plus
did
the
that for
users.
the final. I did the
Oh, you-
DFS and the share. Yeah, I wrote.
No, we did the share, but we didn't add the users.
I did.
We didn't add users, but.
No, it's
Yeah.
not.
Yeah, we
You didn't
but
have
we
to add
didn't- we didn't do
users.
the dimensions, though.
You didn't
No,
have to
no.
add users, you didn't have to do the other
Yeah.
shit, but it was kinda like everything was all in the one subnet anyway,
That's
so
the
it
thing.
didn't matter.
The only thing we didn't do was that. So all you have to do is redo that and do that part.
Yeah, and add the, well, no, I think we did add users.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah,
That
we had
4
was the
users,
last
but we
step,
didn't do the
was to add
permission.
4
Yeah,
users.
she's talking about.
All I'm saying we didn't do.
Well,
the
you're,
permission.
yeah, you're talking about the permissions because of the fact that
We have to access.
they're gonna be in
Yeah.
2 different domains.
Yeah,
That's the
those
other thing
different.
about it, is the other 2 domains, but it's
Yeah,
like
last
plus
step
some
was to add
stuff,
4
minus some
users,
stuff.
I remember.
No, we did.
Yeah, we did the 4 users.
I couldn't finish.
Yeah.
I had to come back the second day only for that.
Yeah. The second domain was like, well, we didn't do that, but that's not gonna be a huge deal. At all.
I have to do some editing, but, and then add all of the crap, but it's not very easy, my job.
Yeah, I might start working on it tomorrow, so we have to go to work. And there's gonna be no
I'm
one
about
at
to
City
read.
Hall, so.
I'm about to read.
That's what I do, I sit at work, and I got nothing to do, I just read.
Well, I don't have time to fucking do nothing shit at work.
Well, like Thursday and Friday, at least at City Hall, like a lot of people don't work.
Bro, we have like 300 tickets.
So I don't get tickets on those 2 days.
Dang.
Yeah.
I did like, probably close to 80 this week.
The phone is like, when it's on.
Oh, yeah, see, I'm not, I like intern with level 2, so we have
Even that shit.
hard stuff. I feel bad for level 1s, they have to sit here and explain to users like have to turn their volume up all day.
How to plug our power cord. The
Yo.
Comcast, that's what the tickets they were sending.
No, they sent me
I
out
was
to fix
like,
that.
oh, really?
Yeah, don't even explain it to them, just go do it.
That's insane. How do you not? My computer was on. Did you check the power cord?
Right. I told you one day I had to go drive out to this fucking place because this lady's monitor was unplugged, right?
Oh, yeah, so, hey,
We do all this shit.
no, it's even better, because it says VGA not connected.
No, bro.
Google.
No, she didn't have her monitor plugged into power.
Oh, yeah, the power
monitor,
cable.
She kicked out the power cable for her monitor enough to where it wasn't all the way in the back.
Yeah.
But she couldn't reach over to the back to, like, you know what I'm
They
saying?
use Dell dock to work, and that's like 99% of the problem. You don't have.
No, these guys, they have full access to everything, but they just don't know.
Yeah, no one knows. I had to go upstairs today to show some lady, she plugged in headphones that you have to change the output audio, like.
Yeah.
Yeah, like,
Bro, some shit though be like, bro, just shoot him, like, there's this one dude, I don't know what the fuck it was, but like, he would receive an email from someone in his organization, it would go to his inbox, and then like, less than 2 seconds later, would move to a junk folder that his email created on its own.
That's weird.
that's
It's
when you
the
just
third-
recreate the email profile.
The third junk folder that he has, well, the thing is like some of these people, they have like all of these
Yeah.
different things, so they're
Yeah.
like, oh man, bro, don't do this, don't do that, blah, blah, whatever. Like, one lady was like, yeah, my problem is X, Y, Z, we created an Outlook profile, problem's gone.
Yes,
So
and
where's
you have to
all my
create your own
stuff? You
image.
have to go back. Oh,
Yeah, it's probably.
I'll talk to the class about setting this up.
Or I can just maybe just spend all day at the lab, I don't really care.
Yeah. Honestly, that's what I'm gonna try to talk to you about.
Okay.
She has over 50,000 emails.
That might be the
There's a
easier
bunch
way
of
to
shit
go
that's
about.
sitting and deleted. I can't delete those out of the deleted box.
Because some people decide that their deleted folder is a place to store emails.
Oh, yeah?
And their trash can is a place to store old files.
Yeah.
I'll be like, bro, what are you doing? I have to keep things for X amount of years, so no, you don't.
Well, no, sometimes you do. Like I'm required to keep things 7 years.
And
What about the people who don't delete anything from their inbox?
yeah,
Instead of creating
that same
folders and
thing.
dragging it
Yeah,
into
on
folders.
each of those folders, I think Microsoft said something about like you should have less than 50,000.
Then you have multiple
But that's
profiles
like each of those
all
folders.
downloading their email, which then eat a million emails, and then the thing runs like a toaster.
Yeah, but I prefer no email client. I can't wait till everything is on the cloud and you have to use a web page,
Yeah.
because then it just makes things easier. Because I downloaded this at home. Well, we're not at home. I'm not going to go to your house. So there's not much I can do for you there.
You have a lady, the same lady with these emails, they sign into a terminal server or whatever the case. Well, I want the same emails in my terminal server session to be the same emails in my local session, and I'm like, yo,
It doesn't work that way.
you need to chill.
My boss created a rule that when I send her an email, it automatically goes to this special folder that she doesn't read. I was like, well, you know you're not loved when you see that. And it's really bad when she asks you how to set it up.
Solar Winds, who sends like a million notifications?
Okay, guys, I just need to complete the configuration and authorize each server. I'm just authorizing each DHCP server.
This other lady, I y'all working on, I was supposed to move her information from the computer to the other computer. And then do like some interaction. Her other computer was already connected to the internet in this office. For some reason, it's not connected to the internet. On the other computer that is connected, I opened up the information for the password for the network, so you can see it, and the network itself, so you can see it. I think she's still not get this laptop online.
Okay, so guys, I'm gonna create a new scope. in my DHCP. I authorize both servers at both ends. So I'm going to create a new scope. I'm going to call it West 172.16.0.0/18. 172.16.0.1 through 172.16.63.254/18. That's the full range of IPs for that network. I'm going to exclude the first 100 and reserve those for servers. On this side, the gateway is 0.1. On this side, I want to use these two DNS servers. No win server, activate the scope. Hit refresh, it acts wonky. So I'm going to do another scope for the other side. East 172.16.64.0/18. The full range of IPs is 172.16.64.1 through 172.16.127.254/18. I did the subnetting, I know what it is. Again, I'm going to exclude the first 100 addresses. I'm not going to pass those out. The gateway for that side is 64.1, the router. For that one, I want to use 172, for that side, I want to use 172.64.3 and 64.2. So if you're on the east side, I want you to use DNS servers on the east side. Any order that you want. You might want to flip them around. Maybe I want to use three first because 2 is the global catalog. Yeah. But that remove button seems so attractive to me. So I have 2 scopes. Now I could do something like split scope. So if I'm on the east side, I'm on the west side, I might want to keep 75, they used to call it 75-25 rule, but now with the new books it's 50-50 rule. So I'll keep 50% of the addresses for that range here and pass over 50% of the IPs over here. And it's just a wizard. I can right click. Click next. Right now I'm on this DC, so I can say CS01 DC4. Oh, no, it's the 80-20 rule right now. So I can keep 80 for my side and give the other side 20% of my scope. So if my server goes down on this side, this other DHCP server can continue passing out IPs for my subnet to my clients, should my DHCP go down. And if I click next, it will do this. It will create exclusions. It'll create an exclusion on this end and pass out the other information to the other end. So I'm just going to do it just to show you on this one side. When I did this wizard for the east, I'm going to flip these numbers. I'm going to do 80 to the other side and 20 to this side. Because I want to keep 20% of his IPs, he'll keep 20% of mine. I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to delete it. Because this is not a good way to do it. Then finish. So in the poll, I've excluded 20%. I'm going to go right here. add a server, CS01 DC4, so I can look at both of them at the same time. I can have one console look at both of them. It didn't activate this, so I'm going to manually activate it. So basically, it knows about the full range, just like I do, but it excluded the first 80%. This one knows about the full range, excluded the first 100, then excluded the last 20%, which is the reverse. You should know about 80% for your network, 20% of the other network. So guys, I'm just going to delete this because there's a better way to do it. Okay, so instead of doing that, I could do something like failover. Once I do that split scope, those two DHCP servers no longer talk to one another. So if one passes out a lease, the other one doesn't know about it. But they don't have overlapping IP addresses, so it's okay. But with failover, when I pass out a lease, the computer on the other side will know about it, the other DHCP. So they kind of communicate when one is down, and they replicate their data. So I'm going to press cancel. I could do this by highlighting here. I can configure failover. This won't show up. This will be gray if you don't have two DHCP servers, and they're authorized. So if this is gray, that means you didn't authorize the other server. If I do failover, it'll show me at the IPv4 level. It'll do both subnets at the same time. Next. Who's my server? CS01 DC4. I'm just going to click next. Load balance. I'm going to do 50. He's going to do 50. I'm not going to have any authentication. In real life, this probably is best. Click next and finish. So this one knows about the full range, the full range, the full range, and the full range. If one goes down, the other one has complete control over both subnets. Now, if I have a client here, and it does a broadcast for an IP, this machine will hear it. Will that broadcast ever be sent across? No. Broadcast traffic can only happen in your subnet. A router will not forward broadcast traffic. So if I have a client here and this DHCP is down, there's no way for this DHCP server to respond. So I need some mechanism in place that will convert that broadcast traffic to unicast traffic and send it directly to that DHCP server. And that's what this relay agent will do. So I'm going to go to both NATs.
It's on the hardware, right?
It'll be on hardware. If you were Cisco, it would be called IP helper.
Yeah.
And that's normally where it's done, but this is what we have available. So just think of these as real routers. So I'm going to go to Tools, Routing Remote Access. Highlight under IPv4, General, add a new routing protocol. The relay agent. Which interface do I want to listen for DHCP traffic? Do I want to listen for DHCP broadcast here, here, or here?
The left.
The left side. Because if a client does a broadcast, this DHCP server will hear it, and also the relay agent will hear it. But This DHCP server will probably respond quicker than this one. So I'm gonna right click, add the West, and just click OK. It's gonna relay it across 4 hops. So basically, if I hear a request on the West interface, I right click, go to properties. This is what you'll forget, guys. This is what a lot of people forget. Where will I send it to? 172.16.64.3, the other DHCP server. So if it hears a request here, a broadcast, it'll convert it to a unicast and send it to the other DHCP server. So if I have a client here in this network, and this server's down, and the relay agent sends it over here, how will the DHCP server know which scope to give it an IP from?
From the 50/50 from the payload?
No, because remember I have 2 scopes, one for east, one for west. I need to make sure that this gets an IP that's appropriate for west. When this relay agent hears it, not only will it send the packet over to the DHCP server, but it's going to tell the DHCP server what IP I have, so it knows. If I heard it here, I know I have to be in the west subnet. I know I have to give them an IP from the west subnet. So that's how it knows which scope to give it to based on the interface that heard that request on. So we need to do the same thing for NAT2. NAT1 is going to send over to the east side. NAT2, if I go to General, add a routing protocol, relay agent, where do I want to listen for request? East, public, or WAN? East. And where do I want to send it to if I hear a request? That's done. Okay, guys, I want to do the failover now. If one public interface goes down, I want to send it across a WAN link to the other router and send it out that public interface. So I'm going to go to static routes. Okay, maybe not. Guys, listen. If you can't get to the internet because your machine was asleep, disable, because I have a stale address. Disable, then re-enable that NIC. That'll give me a new IP. I'm going to close this down and reopen it. I still don't have an IP. On my E drive, let me see this. I'm going to create a folder called CTS3392. My physical drive. Once I get a machine up and running, I'm going to start moving the storage out of there. Move only the virtual hard disk. Don't move your parent disk. I guarantee you I'm running out of disk space. That's why my machines are acting flaky. If I go here, maybe not. I probably need to reboot everything. Okay. Guys, I'm going to move a few hard disks, but this is where I'm going to end it today. I will do the CA with the web server and the failover routes next time we meet. Okay.